Now, one thing I've found when playing this pinky rock blues, I call it pinky rock because we're using our pinky quite a bit, is that it can get very tiring. We don't always have to use the pinky and play these bar chords. Sometimes it's nice if we have two guitars to play another part that complements this pinky rock section, or we can just lay back a little bit more. So I'm going to show you how you can play a comp part or a part instead of that pinky rock section we just learned. We'll start off with A7. We're going to keep our triplet shuffle rhythm going with the right hand, and we're just going to accent. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the A7 chord. My right hand continues with that triplet rhythm. Chugga, 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 that shuffle that we've discussed so much already. And I'm going to bounce a little bit with the chord, so the chord doesn't sustain for very long, but rather I'm going to lift up slightly with the left hand in order to stop the chord. See how I just lift up with the left hand there? And if we put those two elements together, the right hand continuing that shuffle rhythm and the left hand kind of bouncing off the chord, sounds something like this. So we'll do this for the A7. When it's time to switch to D, we'll use a D9 chord. We've already learned this chord. We played it for our turnaround, F9 to E9. So here we'll just do it where the root note's on D, 5th fret of the A string. Form that same chord shape. And we'll have two measures of D. Back to two measures of A7. Now we'll have E9 for one measure, D9 for one measure, and then our turnaround, one bar of A7, and then we'll strike the A7 once, and then end with F9 to E9. And let's try this rhythm pattern with the backing track. So let it roll. Here we go. All right, so now we're going to take a look at another way that we can comp our way through a 12-bar blues rhythm in the key of A. For this one, we're going to have a few new techniques. One is going to be a hammer-on, and the other thing is we're not going to start on the downbeat where the foot hits the floor, but we're going to start on the upbeat. This is known as syncopation. So this will be syncopated. The riff sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I'm going to start on the note A, 7th fret of the D string. I'll play on the 5th fret of the G string and the B string, and then hammer on to the 6th fret of the G string. So we've done this so far. After doing that hammer-on, we'll go back to the note A, 7th fret of the D string, Now with the third finger, we're going to pivot and cover the 7th fret of the G string and the B string. Back to the 5th fret of those same 2 strings with the hammer on to the 6th fret of the G string. So here's what we've done so far. And if I count you in where we start on the and, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now we're going to repeat it. And if we put all of that together, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And let's play that entire phrase 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Again. At this point, we're going to switch over to the D chord, and for this, we're simply going to move up the guitar. So we're playing in 5th position now. That works great when we're playing around A. The root note being here on the A note, 7th fret of the D string. Now we're just going to shift into 10th position. The root note now is D on the 12th fret of the D string, and we'll play the exact same riff. And now we'll go back down to A, back to where we started. And now we're up to E. So for E, we'll simply slide up into 12th position, so go all the way back up. We'll play the riff 1 time in E, starting on the 14th fret of the D string. And then move back to D, down 2 frets. And then back down to A. We'll play this 1 time. And then in the last measure, we'll start off the same way we've been playing the riff, but we'll end with F9 to E9. So the last measure, 7th fret D string, play our hammer-on phrase, and then F9 to E9. So here's the whole riff, nice and slow, all 12 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And again. Now up to D. Back to A. To E, D, last 2 bars. So now let's try this up to tempo with the backing track. So feel free to jam along. Here it is with the backing track. All right, now we're going to negotiate our way through another 12 bar, this time employing a new technique known as slides. Just as the name implies, we're going to slide into some of the notes now. The riff will sound like this. Similar rhythm to what we just played earlier, but here we're going to start with the note A on the 7th fret of the D string, and then I'm going to slide into the 6th fret of the G string along with the 5th fret of the B string. As a good rule of thumb, you might want to start 1 fret below the note that we're trying to get into. But you can slide from other notes. You can slide up into the notes. You can even slide down. A little more common to slide up. So here's what we've done so far. We'll go back to the note A, 7th fret of the D string. Now we'll play 6th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B without sliding into the notes, and back to the A note. And that's pretty much the whole riff. And we'll repeat that. So far we've done this. Once again, this will be syncopated. We'll start on the and or the upbeat of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now we'll play that whole thing again. And we'll take this exact same shape, start on the note D now, 12th fret of the D string, and play the riff. Back down to A. Now we'll move to E. This will be starting on the note E, 14th fret of the D string. Back down to D. Down to A. Last measure. Last measure starts on A. Slide into that riff, 6th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B, and F9 to E9. So here's the last 2 measures. And now let's put all of this together along with the backing track. So here it is with the track. All right, we're going to learn one more rhythm for this 12-bar blues in the key of A, and this time we're going to expand the fretboard a little bit. The riff will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We're also starting on the and of 1, so this is syncopated. We'll start with the note A, 7th fret of the D string. Play the 5th fret of the G string and the B string, and then hammer on to the 6th fret of the G string. Back to A. With the 3rd finger, now play on the 7th fret of the G string and the B string. So far we've done this. Now we're going to shift positions. We'll play 9 on the G, 8 on the B. Back down to 7G along with 7B. Play the 5th fret of the same 2 strings, this time hammering onto the 6th fret of the G string. And finally landing on the note A, 7th fret of the D string. And if we put all of that together, we've just done this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now let's play it 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now we'll mirror this exact lick, but we'll move it up to D. So same thing, just start on the 12th fret of the D string. After doing it 1 time, we'll move back down to A. Now we're up to the E chord. For E, we'll start on the 14th fret of the D string. And we'll only ascend, so we're going to play half of the lick. We never go back down. Now we'll start on D. And for the last 2 bars, we have the turnaround, so down to A. Ending F9 to E9. Okay, so when we get to the A, we start off this much of the riff. But this is where we end in order to play the F9 to the E9. So once again, here's the last 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So let's play it together nice and slow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And again. Up to D. Back to A. To E for half. D, A. And now let's try it up to tempo with the backing track. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to play through the rhythm of a 12-bar blues. We did this in the key of A. We went through how to play this riff with some open chords, with some bar chords, using that pinky rock thing that I was talking about. And we also talked about how we could play some parts that complement this pinky rock thing, or if our hands are getting tired, we can play these other riffs instead of playing the pinky rock thing. If you're doing a few songs and you have this big stretch, that can get really tiring. So you should be familiar with the chord changes of a 12-bar blues. Your ears should help to anticipate when to switch chords as well. You should really be able to feel it by this point. And also, you should be comfortable with that shuffle rhythm. Very important for blues, shuffle rhythm. So if you feel like you're comfortable with all of this stuff, you're ready to move on to the next section where we're going to talk about how to solo over these changes. So I'll see you soon.